It's looking good. It's massive. All on my own. Gets the lounge. Sofia. We are free. I have not been in the caravan yet. I've just unlocked the door. I'm very nervous about this. One of my biggest fears while we've been away for so long is mice and potentially rats getting in here. Let's hope we don't. The smell in here is really distinctive. It reminds me of cheap family holidays in static caravans. It's got that like musty, stagnant air that's been really hot at some point. Yeah, an odd smell to it. For my quick brief inspection, everything looks good. We left it in much worse a state than I thought, so I'm going to have to get my bed sorted and all the rest of it. But I've got the fan on, I've got the windows open, so I'm just airing it out. Fingers crossed we got away with it. Hopefully we'll never have to leave the caravan for that long again, uninhabited anyway. Man, it's good to be back here though, isn't it? Oh. Morning guys. I say morning, it's actually about 12 day. Was laying after yesterday's travelling escapades. You forget, like when you're in the UK, it's, well, where we live in the UK, it's flat out busy everywhere. There's cars everywhere and noise. And here it is just, apart from the neighbour working with a circular saw, it's silent here. And it's gorgeous. So I'll be honest, this morning I've sort of had a wander around, looked at the land, made sure everything's okay, checked the buildings, everything's good. But I'm sort of sat here a little bit overwhelmed really. You sort of forget what you've taken on here and what there is to do. You sort of don't know where to start. That's the biggest thing I struggle with, is I just don't know where to start with it all. Anyway, the grass is ridiculously long, so that would be a nice easy job for me, and we can get some more grass into the compost. I was just panning the camera around, chatting away, and I realised I was about to do a spoiler. And that's because the roof is finished, but you guys haven't seen it yet. So, I think it's about time that we went back. Let's go back to where we got to with the roof and the final stages that we did in order to complete it. Roll the video. The roof is done! Ah, the roof is done. Yeah, so apart from a few little finishing cuts on the end boards, on the end fascias, and a few other bits and pieces, like gutters, the roof is done. It's on, the tin is on, it's dry, and it's magnificent. I am very, very happy with it. Also, I want to address something. I think a lot of people think this is very over the top just to protect the caravan and give us a little bit of a decking area. The long-term plan is that this will always be here now. This is a permanent fixture on our land. And the idea is that when the caravan reaches the end of its life, whenever that is, the caravan will be taken apart underneath the roof, and the deck will be continued right the way through to the outside posts. And then my plan, my hope, my dream is to build a cob wood-fired pizza oven in here, and an outdoor cooking area, barbecue, sink and fridges and stuff like that. Because the reality is that the weather's amazing here for at least 8 months of the year. So this will become an outdoor dining, entertaining space. You can imagine it with fairy lights up in the rafters, climbing plants all over it. It's gonna be flipping gorgeous. So yeah, this is a hell of a lot of work, and yes, the structure is totally over the top for protecting the caravan from the elements. But we've always had this vision that this will be a long-term space for us to use for, yeah, dining, outdoor entertaining, just a lovely space to be. So for those of you that were wondering, isn't this a bit over the top for the caravan? It absolutely is, but there's more to it than that. Hope that answers your questions. I know it was a bit of extra expense, but what do we think about the black membrane on top of the rafters? I think it gives it a really nice, clean finish, and we're not looking at the underside of that tin. What do you reckon? Was it worth it? A few extra lev to do that, and quite a bit of extra time, but I feel like it gives it this really nice, sleek finish. Sleek, I mean, it's a long way from sleek, but you know what I mean. It's clean, it's tidy. Is that not one of the best sounds in the world? That is one of the reasons we put a tin roof up there. Oh. And look, we're in here dry. So as we've been away for quite a while now, and we got so many new subscribers, hello, I thought it was an idea to give you guys a bit of an update on the land, the buildings, what's going on, and maybe some of our plans for next year. So before we headed back to England for December, we had loads of rain, and I said how bad the driveway was and how bad the road was out the front. I thought I'd come and show you how bad. This is our driveway, and yeah, I think we're going to have to work on this. In the summer, obviously, this is bone dry and completely fine, but in the winter it isn't, and well, it's an absolute mess. Any of you out there with any advice on this? I've got two things in mind. I've never seen this flowing properly, like after really heavy rain. So I would have thought it gets significantly more than this, but not anywhere near to the point where it's a proper flowing sort of stream or small river, basically. But I've never seen it in full flow. What would you do? We've got two big, probably 6-inch round plastic ducts. I'll show you here. Now my thoughts were to put them across here and then concrete over the top and build the whole driveway level up a bit so that we get rid of this low point here, and the low point has got the tubes in it, right? However, what about if we just do like a concrete or maybe stone, like a river basin, like a man-made dip here, so it still keeps the low point and it won't matter how much water we get because it'll always manage to deal with it because it's naturally still a river valley. I think there's going to be a lot more groundwork involved in that and therefore expense and time, but
I'm not worried about the flow, and the other thing I'm not worried about is it's not going to block up, which potentially the other pipes could do. I don't know, what do you think? River valley, like man-made river valley here, as part of the driveway, which means in the winter we splash through the water, and in the summer it's just a dip in the road? Or do we go over the top and bring all the levels up using those drainage pipes? I don't know what to do. This gives you an idea as to how much water is flowing across our driveway. It's very pretty though. You can definitely tell that spring is on the way. We have buds and blossom coming out here. We have what look to be daffodils coming out. So this was one of the areas that we cleared at the end of last year. We cleared this bank here and it's looking really good. All the grass has come up through, there's wildflowers coming out. We've even got daffodils down here. And this is the valley where the stream runs down. Okay, well, I'm out the back of the house. As you can see, the solar panels are here. And the stream runs behind the workshop and up this boundary line, where it then splits off. So we have a lake above the land. On the piece of land above ours, there's a big lake up there. And there's a lake also this direction. And it's that one that's full and is flowing through that stream. At the minute, this one's still not got that much water in it. The water runs down this line of our boundary, joins up with these two, with the other one, and then they all flow down this stream behind the workshop and out onto the driveway. So seeing the water flow across the driveway like it currently is, it definitely is not in full flow because this stream's not even running. I thought I'd also give you a little update on our solar setup while we've been away. Now, this whole lot was left switched on, running our security system while we were away. Obviously that was supposed to be 6 weeks, it ended up being 3 months, and this system worked faultlessly while we were away. We had a flat battery once after 4 days of no sunshine, and the following day we got sunshine again and the system rebooted itself, we got a fully charged battery and we were back up and running. Which is really cool. I was really unsure as to what was going to happen if the battery did go flat and we didn't get any sun. But yeah, it totally sorted itself out, which is amazing that this is fully autonomous even when we're not here. Nothing went out of sync, nothing switched itself off. It was all there dormant, ready to go again as soon as we got power in. Which is great news, I'm really chuffed about that. I also have been able to set this inverter up on the internet, so I've been able to remote monitor our system while I've been away, which is really cool. Yeah, and a nice feature actually. I've part of my power obsession is I logged on to the system every day, like my morning routine, check the battery, see how we're doing, and also I could check the cameras and stuff and see what the weather's like as well, which is always nice to see when we're not here. Yeah, so it has been completely faultless. We put this whole lot together as a bit of trial and error, and so far it's been fantastic. So there are upgrades coming this year. We are going to be upgrading and improving this system. You'll have to wait and see for that. Obviously, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but I'm excited about it, that's for sure. I don't know if you'll see from the angle that you're at, but we've actually had quite a lot of movement now in this wooden frame that holds these panels. All the panels are like stepped, so I think that now the wood's got really wet, it's all warped and twisted and stuff. It doesn't look like it's putting too much pressure on the panels, and really they can pop out of here quite easy if they need, like, if things move too much. So for this year, again, part of the solar upgrades and the power upgrades that we're doing will be to do a better framework support system for this. This whole system with the wooden frame was just a trial and error thing. We built it super cheap just to get some power. We had no power on the land, we were running the generator all the time, so if you remember back in those early days when we had no power and it was red hot when we were over here, yeah, so we knocked this frame up and it's been really good. It's really served its purpose, but yeah, as part of the upgrades we're definitely going to be improving this solar stand setup, holder, something like that. Up in this top corner of the land, this is right in the top corner, is Alex's camp, and At the minute he's built himself a bench, and there's a fire area and a spare camping chair for when friends come over. And this is his sign that he made, and I promised him that I was going to make sure it's knocked in properly. There you are, Alex. I know you're watching. Your sign's good, mate. This is Alex's little bench that he made himself in his camp with offcuts from when we were doing the decking. Oh, and it's not a bad spot to spend a few hours. Thanks, Alex. So we also have this area, which is our woodland walk. And that's just basically a straight line just off of our boundary. So these big poplars that we have are basically right on the boundary line. So ideally I'd like to come through here and thin through and be a bit more selective about what stays and what goes. Make sure that stuff isn't competing with each other, and if there's weak trees, take them out. Because it would be really nice to get this to a bit more like a managed woodland kind of idea. So this side of the land, this is where the stream runs on this far side, and that's the boundary. We have what we call the woodland, and that is loads, and I mean like hundreds of trees this size and a bit smaller, right down to little saplings. So I haven't managed to ID most of the trees here, but we do have a majority of elm trees. I think it's a European small-leaved elm, and there is tons of them. They've all just grown and self-seeded naturally, but I think it will be our plan at some point to come through this and thin out and actually make this a bit more of a woodland, because it's a lovely area to be in. It's all shaded in the summer. Our property was vacant for about 10 years before we got here, and during that time the land was butchered and harvested for every decent sized tree on it, I presume for firewood, and this is one of the ones that took a beating, and it was once a huge ash tree which looked would have been amazing, but yeah, it got harvested for its wood, which is a real shame because big trees aren't that common here because of the climate. So it is regrowing, and in actual fact all the trees that have been cut, they're all growing back, which is good, but it would have been nice to have some more mature, more established trees here. This ash tree is probably the veteran on the land. I reckon it's the oldest one we have, and it looks fairly healthy. This is one of just 2 almond trees that we have on the property, and it's just starting to bud and blossom. The bees go crazy for these almond flowers at this time of year. My friend's got some almond trees in his garden. I walked in and it sounded it was just like a swarm. The whole place was absolutely swarming in bees, which is really lovely. I certainly want to plant more almonds. So one thing that definitely has got worse since we've been away is the state of the house. Yeah, you can't quite see, but to the right of the chimney up here, the tiles have actually fallen in, and now you can see daylight in this back bedroom. You can see daylight right up through the roof. So all the tiles around the chimney are all just pouring the rain in. And then over here where I've taken the lean-to off, those tiles, rather than being like this, are now leaning back. So the rain's running down and then back into the house. The house is looking in a really bad way, actually.
It's also worth noting at this point that our plan has never been to rebuild this house. It has always been, from the very start, to knock it down and do our own brand new eco build.
So we're really torn. Do we get on with the house this year? It is not getting any better, that's for sure. And in actual fact, if we want to save some of these materials like the tiles and bits and pieces, then we kind of need to get on with that fairly soon, because soon that roof's going to fall in and then 90% of those tiles will be smashed. But do we do that, or do we get on with the little barn? This was always our plan, was to do the little barn as a tiny house, and the plan with that was it would be guest accommodation, but also it would give us that extra living space when people aren't here to stay. Yeah, it would give us a nice warm inside environment in which to stay, where we can then do the house. The advantages of making a start with the little barn first is it's cheaper, because obviously there's far less materials involved. I think there's going to be less work involved generally, because we haven't got to knock this whole thing down and start again. We can probably work with what we got, I think. And also it will allow us to practice our skills with eco building and cob and mud bricks and all the clay plasters and all the stuff that we want to do. We can practice on here. It won't be the end of the world because it's not in the big house. It's not, you know, it's a bit of an experiment, if that makes sense. So we can get our eye in with this before then going into the house and knowing exactly what we want to do there. But we're living in a caravan, and Alex is going to need his own bedroom soon and stuff like that. So I don't know. Do we get on with the house? Also, the house is deteriorating far quicker than I thought it would. So I don't know. Start here, the small, cheaper project, although it doesn't really help us towards getting the house done in the long run. Or do you start here with the house that is a load of work, and that really has got to be knocked down completely and start afresh, obviously with a much bigger expense? Tricky decision.
It took me a long time to edit this one, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Just to give you a little update, Kayleigh is doing incredibly well on her recovery, and we've already booked our flights to return back out to Bulgaria as a family. Super exciting. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one.
So today has been a bit of not perfect issue. Well, not, it's not an issue, so I don't know why I'm saying it's an issue. On the solar system, why am I even saying this? Now in the comments, I just had to check there because I was about to fall off the edge of the deck. So it mean that we can do the and obviously there's so many. Obviously, is it obvious? Is it obvious though? That's the question.